be nosy and be in your children's lives. Know who they're talking to, know what's going on, know whether or not that game that they're playing has a chat feature. And I talk to parents like, well, I'm just not good with technology. Well, it's time to get good with technology. Because if you're going to allow your children to use a gaming console or to use a phone, look at that as a weapon, right? No parent would hand their child a loaded gun and say, oh, well, I'm just not good with guns, so I don't know how to check to see if it's loaded. Tell me how a gaming console or a phone is any different, right? Our job as parents is to protect our children. And that means protecting them from things that they don't understand the consequences for. If you go to our website at deliverfund.org, you will see a video of a boy who was trafficked. He was groomed through a gaming console, and he thought he was talking to another boy his age in another state. And then that human trafficker got him to tell him over a period of months where he lived. Human trafficker then contacted him and said, hey, I'm with my dad up the street. Why don't you come out and say hi? And so the boy did, jumped in the car. Obviously it was a grown man, took his phone. They found the phone in the front yard of a neighbor's house and took this young boy to another state. Now, luckily, one of our analysts, Kara Smith, you can find her on Instagram at Kara the Huntress, which is kind of our little name for her because she lives to hunt down human traffickers, and she's a former NSA analyst. She was able to find this young boy where he was, and within a couple of hours, and law enforcement kicked in the door of this guy's house and rescued the boy within 48 hours. But that's a great example. And the father of this young boy, he was an IT security specialist at a very large IT security company. So he had all the right filters on his router. He had all the right stuff. He was doing the right things. He just assumed that because he'd pushed the easy button for keeping the pornography and stuff like that off his home internet, that there was no other way that these human traffickers could get these children. So you see your kids talking to somebody on a gaming console or on a phone. Hey, who are you talking to? What are they saying? Do you really know that's them? Helping children understand that the person on the other side of the internet could be anybody. It could be who they claim to be, and it also could not.
From there, he leads to going into the Air Force and becomes a pararescue, which pararescue is comparable to Navy SEAL. Then he goes into the CIA. Cannot tell you how long it is because I don't know how long it is, but it's several years. He goes into the CIA. And then afterwards, he decides to get out to go fight human trafficking. And all along, he gets a call from Amazon and Vice saying, we want to do a story that's similar to your background because everybody tells us, well, we're about to write you the closest thing to this person. And that movie is Jack Ryan. With that being said, my guest today is Nick McKinley. Nick, how are you?
Hey, doing well, Patrick. Thank you for having me. We had intelligence on a human trafficker that was moving children across a border, and they were specifically using those children to test bombs. We had video of this. So this became very, very emotionally charged issue for us. As he was testing these, he was using young boys. And would literally have them go walk around in a field where he had these pressure plates buried, and once to see if they worked.
And you personally witnessed this?
We had video of it, yes, and we wrote it all up and sent it up the chain, and there was nobody really cared. Everybody thought, oh, this is very sad, but nobody really cared, and that made me curious in a bad way almost, right? And so when you have that level of security clearance, right? If you work at CIA, you have the highest security clearance you can get, TSSCI with a full scope poly, and there's nothing that's off limits to you. So I got on the computer system and started looking for that magic red door of competence that was fighting human trafficking. And what I learned over a period of years of, digging around in classified systems and talking to everybody I knew, and a bunch of special ops guys, run this experiment yourself. Go ask them how many operations they've ever done that involved going after a human trafficker. And what you'll find is that they'll tell you none.
Why
Now
not though? Why not though?
It's not a presidential reporting requirement. So at the end of the day, everybody who works in the government is just a soldier who's doing what the bureaucracy at the top, what the administration in charge says to do. Yet we have an entire government bureaucracy that we spend billions of dollars fighting what is the illicit trade of legal commodities. We have a drug enforcement agency. 90% of drugs are legal. The 13th Amendment makes 100% of slavery, because that's what we're talking about, right? Human trafficking is just a very, very, very cushy word for slavery. 100% of slavery is illegal, yet who's got the ball on that issue? The Department of Justice, great agents doing what they can, but there's not enough of them. You've got Department of Homeland Security. They try to do some work around human trafficking, but Department of Homeland Security is very politicized. Right now, they've got handcuffs on them on this issue.
And me and my friend, we're sitting next to each other, and she looks at the girl sitting in front of us and says, Pat, take a look at this. It seems a little weird. And I said, what do you mean? I said, look, every time I look at her face, she looks scared. I'm trying to talk to her. So she waited for the guy to go to the bathroom. And the guy was probably 62 years old, and she was probably 12, 13 years old. She looked like she had a little pouch, like almost being pregnant. And she started talking to her. Who is that man sitting next to you? How are you, sweetie? Trying to kind of, and she talks to her, and she's like, I can't talk to you. And she's like, what, is this your daddy? I can't talk to you. So I follow the guy. I'm not trying to make a scene. I follow him. Okay. So I'm trying to start a conversation with him. And I look at him, I'm like, yeah, something's wrong with you, buddy. There's something very weird with. So I started, hey, so tell me, where are you guys from? I'm just trying to start a conversation. And hey, can you leave us alone? I'm like, can you leave us alone? Who the hell says, can you leave us alone? I'm like, yeah, it's totally fine. So is that your daughter? None of your business. Yes, that's my daughter. I'm like, so then I go up to the flight attendant. I said, listen, this is a little bit weird. 42 years of me living, I've never done this in my life. I'm convinced this guy was a dirty guy, and I wanted to take it on my own, but I had, friends I knew in the flight. I'm not trying to make but at the same time, I said, do you guys have any agency people on the flight? I know typically on every flight, there's somebody that's an agent, that's on. I don't need to know the answer to the question. So she said, let me see what I can do. So they come back, they look, start talking to him. At this point, he's thinking that because he looked at me like pissed off even more. And I really, at this point, I'm really don't care at this point what's going on.
Right.
So she goes back and tells the other person. So now everybody's kind of trying to find out what's going on. And I said, do you mind, not letting him get off the flight and have some agents coming on board and kind of doing what they're doing? Says, sir, we have it from here. Let us take care of it. We make sure we want to reassure you we're going to do something. I left. I waited. All I know is the guy and the girl didn't get off, and they were somebody was talking to them. I don't know what happened there, but that was just my gut. I may have been wrong. Never felt like that before ever in my life. I'm a pretty intuitive guy. I'm around a lot of people. I travel very regularly, and it felt very, very weird.
But when you see something that just doesn't make sense, right? Especially when it involves fear, we all know what fear looks like. I mean, we can see it in other people. It's a survival instinct that allowed mankind to proliferate. Say, hey, I'm afraid because there's a lion over there. So we all know what it looks like. And so when you see that, you did exactly the right thing, which is you want to tell the next level of authority that you can, right? So in this case, it was the crew at the airline. If it's not the crew at the airline, it's going to be the airport security. It's going to be a law enforcement officer. It's going to be calling your county sheriff. All of those things.